13 Russians have been charged with interfering in the U.S. 2016 election, in a major development in the FBI investigation. 3 of those named have been accused of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 5 have been accused of aggravated identity theft. The announcement was made by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who is investigating alleged Russian meddling. 3 Russian companies are also named in the indictment. Speaking at a news conference, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said there was no allegation that any American was a knowing participant in this illegal activity, nor was it alleged that the meddling altered the election outcome. But he said the 37-page indictment showed that Russians had wanted to sow discord in the U.S. The indictment says some of the defendants used computer systems in the U.S. to hide the Russian origin of their activities. Defendants, posing as U.S. persons and creating false U.S. personas, operated social media pages and groups designed to attract U.S. audiences, it reads. It says those involved systematically measured how well their internet posts were doing and adjusted their strategies to maximize effectiveness. It also says those named in the indictment began discussing how to affect the election as early as 2014. By 2016, defendants and their co-conspirators used their fictitious online persons to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election, the indictment continues. They engaged in operations primarily to communicate derogatory information about Hillary Clinton, to denigrate other candidates such as Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and to support Bernie Sanders and then-candidate Donald Trump. President Trump was briefed on the indictment earlier on Friday, White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders said. One of the men named in the indictment, Evgeny Prigozhin, who is known as Putin's chef, denied election tampering. The Americans are very impressionable people, they see what they want to see, he was quoted as saying by Russian news agency RIA Novosti on Friday. I have great respect for them. I'm not at all upset that I'm on this list. If they want to see the devil, let them see him. Analysis by Anthony Zurcher, Newsbay News, Washington. On Friday, Robert Mueller's team released a slate of indictments that lays bare what it asserts is the full shape of the Russian meddling apparatus. And what an apparatus it was. In the run-up to the U.S. presidential election, Project Lakta, as it was called, had an operating budget of more than $1 million a month. Russians associated with the organization traveled to the U.S., posed as Americans, and gathered information on where best to target its attempts to sow discord in the U.S. political process. Swing states were identified and efforts, according to the indictment, were made to boost the prospects of Republican Donald Trump and undermine Democrat Hillary Clinton. Although the indictment does not suggest collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians, it says the meddling effort may have been aided by unwitting individuals associated with the Republican nominee. The White House may breathe a sigh of relief with that particular revelation. But the heat is increasing, and the investigation isn't over yet. At the very least, if Mr. Mueller's allegations hold up in court, it will become increasingly difficult for the president to argue that Russian meddling on his behalf is an unsubstantiated hoax. U.S. intelligence agencies believe Russia tried to sway the 2016 presidential election in favor of Republican candidate Donald Trump. In May last year, Mr. Mueller was appointed special counsel to investigate whether anyone from his campaign colluded in the effort. As part of the inquiry, former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort has been charged with conspiring to defraud the U.S. in his dealings with Ukraine, and conspiracy to launder money. A business associate of his, Rick Gates, was also charged with conspiracy to launder money. A third advisor to the Trump campaign, George Papadopoulos, pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. This week President Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, was interviewed by Mr. Mueller. Mr. Trump has been accused by opponents of trying to interfere with the investigation. The president denies this, as well as any allegation of collusion with Russia during the campaign.